Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Formbook. It's a classic special. We're previewing the 2000 and the 1000 Guineas, which you can watch live on Racing TV this weekend. So let's get underway and get stuck into finding the winners of the classics at HQ. Yes, thanks again for your company. Looking forward to delving deep into the classics and hopefully finding the winner of both events. We're recording this on Friday. Don't forget, Punchestown Festival is still underway. Constitution Hill, State Man and Golden Ace do battle tonight. And there's a free 1-month trial that you can take advantage of now. Get yours by heading to the Racing TV website. As for the 2000 Guineas, here's the final field. Benevento Expanded, Field of Gold, Green Impact, Ruling Court, Scorvy Champ, Seagulls 11, Shadow of Light, Tornado Alert, Wimbledon Hawkeye, and Yamo Be There, classic song from the 80s. In terms of how they bet, 7-4 Fav, Field of Gold, Ruling Court at 4-1, Expanded 5s, Scorvy Champ at 7s, Shadow of Light at 15-2, Green Impact at 12s, Wimbledon Hawkeye 20s, 40-1 for Seagulls 11, Yamo Be There 50s, Tornado Alert 66s, Benevento at 80s. So that's in terms of how they bet. That's the field. Let's get straight into it then. Let's start with Benevento. So, of course, he's trained by Rafael Frere for Ammo Racing. And he performed with plenty of credit last season, impressed with his attitude after winning a listed race at Doncaster before finishing fourth in a Group 3 at Newbury on testing ground. He returned in the Craven. He struggled to get cover, though, on that occasion, and he looked to be in need of the outing. So you could argue he's entitled to improve for those excursions, but obviously he's been behind Field of Gold already this term, and for me, he looks pretty vulnerable. That is Benevento, the 80-1 outsider of the group. Next horse we're going to have a look at is Aidan O'Brien's sole runner in the race. Now, Twain, of course, was withdrawn earlier on this week due to a setback. So Expanded is going to be the runner here, this son of Wootton Bassett. Let's take a look at his win at the Curragh. Did it nicely on his debut here, staying on strongly under pressure to deliver the goods at the first time of asking. Then, of course, he was a very, very good second, pitched into Group 1 company behind Shadow of Light in the Dewhurst. Now, let's have a quick look at that performance as well. It's well worth marking up. Here he is on this standside rail, and he does a lot of the donkey work on that side. A huge effort on just his second start. Ryan Moore apparently believes he would have won had he not been pestered by the third on that side. I think connections hold him in the highest regard. O'Brien in a stable tour on Racing TV has said he is a Guineas horse following that run. He handled the track. Only concern I've got is he lacks a bit of experience, and also this wasn't going to be his target. He was going to run on Bank Holiday Monday in the tech truck, but with Twain now out, so they've decided to reroute here. So it wasn't his initial focus this season. So that would be the only concern I'd have if you're backing Expanded. What about the Jolly? 7-4 Fav. Here he is this week. Field of Gold, galloping on Warren Hill, this son of Kingman. Kingman, of course, famously couldn't win the 2000 Guineas. It's the one race which is not on John Gosden's CV. But he was a good winner of the Craven. You can't deny that. Powering clear. He won the Solario last term. Ground probably went against him as well when he was fourth in the Prix Jean-Luc Lagardère. Given his size and scope, I think he'll take another step forward from this win in the Craven. He's still powered clear in very effective manner. He's got the advantage now of race fitness. He's proven over the course and distance. Let's take a look at that Craven win. Just look at how he really, when he meets the rising ground, careers away from plenty of his rivals. There you can see Benevento, for example, on the rail. And you have to say he really does power clear in taking fashion. Of course, Gosden looking for his first win in the Betfred 2000 Guineas. If there's a concern, I think he's keen, this horse, and getting cover could be huge. And it's a massive ride for Kieran Schumacher, who, of course, finished the year with Group 1 win for Team Gosden. Had been a tricky start to his first year as retained rider at Clarehaven. I'm just a bit concerned about getting cover. He's a horse who needs it, and will he get it in this small runner field? I'm a bit concerned. So Field of Gold, I'd be willing to take on the Jolly. Next up to have a look at is Green Impact. Good winner here at Leopardstown when we're seeing this. Landed last year's Champions Juvenile Stakes at Leopardstown. I think the Derby's the main target for this horse, but the form of his 2 wins last year was franked by Delacroix, who of course was a good second in the Futurity Trophy and has made a winning return. Stable forms are concerned. 0 winners from 29 runners at the time of recording. And while he holds each way claims, I think he'll be better suited by the step further up in trip in time for the Derby. But that's Green Impact, who's around 14-1 shot for Jesse Harrington. Next horse we're going to have a look at, and this was impressive, is Ruling Court. For me, he's the pick. Very, very potent turn of foot, as he showed here. €2.3 million breeze up purchase. He was introduced as the anti-post favourite for the Guineas following his win at Sandown last year, quickening off a slow pace. He then, of course, was third in the Acomb to the Lion in Winter. That's pretty good form. And the big thing is, following this 6-length romp at Meydan in March, Buick has decided to take the ride. For me, that's all you need to know. Here is his Sandown debut win, but the fact that Buick's decided to go with him over Shadow of Light, who was a dual Group 1 winner last season, is a significant positive. Hopefully he's working well at home. I think his pedigree suggests he will stay further than a mile, but he's got the speed, I think, to win at this distance, as he showed at Meydan. So Ruling Court, with ground as well in his favour, he'll love the rattling fast ground. He gets the vote for me in this year's renal of the Guineas. What about Scalvy Champ, though? Joseph O'Brien, his horses are in fine form. Yesterday, of course, he had double at Punchestown, and he also had a good winner of the feature at Chelmsford with Lady with the Lamp. This is Scalvy Champ. He's around a 7-8-1 chance. Impressive as well on this occasion when landing the national stakes. Okay, Henri Matisse has his antics, and that helped open the door, but this guy really does stay, and he's a significant horse in terms of how he just keeps finding under pressure. O'Brien, of course, who won the race as a jockey aboard Camelot in 2012. He did it nicely, I thought, and there could be a little bit more to come about him going forward, because you do think the mile might just be his ultimate trip. He's a horse who I think will be staying on at the finish, and I think he's a solid each-way contender, that Scalvy Champ. What about Seagulls 11? He's owned by a number of Brighton players. Tricky enough season for Brighton. Whether Hörsler will be there next year remains to be seen. But as for Seagulls 11, he bids to follow in the footsteps of his sire Galileo Gold, who won the race. And of course, he's also trained by Hugo Palmer. 2 lengths behind Scalvy Champ in the national stakes. And he also was a good second here in the Superlative earlier on this season. Palmer's horses are in good form. They're operating at a 25% strike rate. He'll have his supporters as he's owned by those Brighton contingent. But I think he probably lacks the class here, and that's why he's a 40-1 chance. He's got form to find with Scalvy Champ, and I think he'd be one I'll be wanting to take on. Buick has ditched Shadow of Light, but what do you make of the chances of this one? He's next for Godolphin. In terms of what he's achieved, well, he won the Middle Park over 6 furlongs in good style, staying on really strongly. He's closely related to dual Group 1 winning sprinter Earthlight. His pedigree, for me, suggests the mile might not be his optimum trip, but we'll have a look at his Dewhurst win in a minute. But he's proven, of course, at the track. But the negative for me is Buick deciding to ride Ruling Court instead of a dual Group 1 winner. That's his Middle Park. Let's have a brief look now back at that Dewhurst again, where Expanded was second. Seagulls 11 also in this. Staying on strongly on soft ground, I've got a slight concern about his stamina for this race. Okay, he was staying on strongly at the finish here, but I think there's enough negatives in terms of the pedigree to suggest that he might not get home. Mikel Barcelona takes the ride. I'd be wanting to oppose Shadow of Light in this race. What about Wimbledon Hawkeye for tennis fans? James Owen trains this one. Another interesting contender. Highly tried last season. He split the Lion in Winter and Ruling Court when second in the Acomb Stakes. That's obviously a strong piece of form, and he's impressed already over the course and distance in the Royal Lodge. The ground was to blame for his disappointing effort in the Futurity Trophy on his final start last season, and he'll relish faster conditions, just like his sire Kamiko did when winning this race back a few years ago in 2020. Bit keen though he was when we had a look earlier at his run in the Craven. That would be a slight concern again for me. Hopefully, maybe if he's able to settle a bit better, that will help. And he's had that experience. It's also a big ride for Harry Davis, who has his first ride in the 2000 Guineas. I went from S to W, so I did miss out a horse that I don't have any footage of, which is Tornado Alert. He's trained by this man, Saeed bin Sarur. Lacks experience, has never run on turf, and it's a big leap of faith to suggest a require to support him. He's the son of Too Darn Hot, needed the experience when third on his debut, but he progressed nicely to get off the mark at Newmarket next time out. Here is that picture. That race, though, the concern I've got here, hasn't really worked out well. It's a major step up in grade. You never discount Saeed bin Sarur. He's got a fine record. He's a brilliant trainer, but I think Tornado Alert might just be up against it. Final horse we're going to look at, as mentioned, a classic from the 80s, is Yamo Be There. Got footage of his second here at York earlier on at the back end of last season. Jamie Spencer takes the ride. He's a horse who starts slowly, but he came from last to first to record a listed win at Newbury in July last year. He was held up again in the Greenham last time out, plugging on under pressure. That will have blown away the cobwebs. Connections hope the step up in trip is also going to suit. But I think it's hard to make a case for him getting towards the likes of Field of Gold and Ruling Court based on that performance. So that's a look at all the runners then in this year's renewal of the 2000 Guineas. Here's my 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got Ruling Court coming out on top. Been impressed with his win at Meydan. Buick's aboard. He'll be suited by fast ground. And I think he can win at the expense of Expanded, who ran really well when second, of course, in the Dewhurst on just his second career start. It was a quick turnaround as well. I think there's a bit more to come from him. Slight concern is the fact he wasn't going to run in this until earlier on in the week. I think Scorvy Champ, he looks sure to go well in terms of he's a horse who's got the staying power, but I think he's also got the speed to make his presence felt. And Joseph O'Brien couldn't be going any better. And I then have Field of Gold in fourth. I've just got concerns about him being keen early in the race. And with that in mind, I'd be wanting to take him on. John Gosden, desperate to win the race, of course, because it's not on his CV and a glittering career. I just think there's enough concerns with Field of Gold to make him worth taking on. So that's a look then at the 2000 Guineas. Next up, we'll be having a look at the Betfred 1000 Guineas.
Night of Thunder drifting over Australia and Kingman. They're wide across the course. Kingman over Thunder dives and I think won the Guineas.
In the hands of Franklin O'Toole in his final season, and he wins another Guineas. It's Cafe though, and James Doyle to the Guineas double Cafe. As they head up towards the line, Ramatuel just in front. El Malka diving, El Malka. It's notable speed. He remains unbeaten. He won the 2000 Guineas.
Yes, watch all the action live, of course, the Betfred Guineas Festival on Racing TV this weekend. Next up, the 1000 Guineas. Here are the 10 that go to post after today's declaration stage. Chantilly Lace, Desert Flower, The Fav, Duty First, Elbertine, Flight, Heyboo, Late Victoria, Red Letter, Ramart, and Simmering. What about the betting for this riddle? 10 to 11 Fav is Desert Flower, 11 to 4 Late Victoria for Aidan O'Brien, 5 to 1 Red Letter for Joe Lyons, 14 for Duty First, Chantilly Lace at 25s. Elbertine, Flight, and Simmering are all double carpet, 50 to 1 for Heyboo, and 66 to 1 for Ramart. So Desert Flower been long popular for this contest and is your favourite. Just a brief word on the race, though. The last unbeaten filly to win was Attraction back in 2004. And obviously, you've got two unbeaten fillies at the top of the market for this year's renewal in Late Victoria and Desert Flower. Only 4 favourites have won, though, this century. And one of those, Special Duty, of course, needed the help of the stewards to prevail. By contrast, 14 winners have returned at double-figure odds, with El Malka, the latest to do that 12 months ago at 28 to 1. So let's continue with our runner-by-runner guide, this time to the 1000. Chantilly Lace is first up, representing Rafe Beckett, daughter of Lope de Vega, half-sister to 10 Sovereigns, the July Cup winner, bought for 375,000 guineas as a yearling, mastered 4 colts on her debut on heavy ground at Salisbury. Form looks ordinary, though, at least by Grade 1 standards, and this is obviously a completely different test. But Chantilly Lace, another exciting filly for that man, Rafe Beckett. Next up, Desert Flower. 2 pieces of VT for her. Here's one of her Newmarket wins. She was flawless last season, winning all 4. She saved her best for last when winning the Fillies Mile at Newmarket in October. She'd also previously landed the May Hill at Doncaster, and obviously this was one of her emphatic wins on the way to that Fillies Mile success. Clearly a horse who was going from strength to strength all season, bolting up here. And then here's a look at the Fillies Mile, where she just careered away in very, very good style. You had to be impressed with how much she found in the closing stages to go on and win by, I think, 5.5 lengths in the end. The last British train winner, though, to pull in terms of not having a warm-up was Blue Bunting, another Godolphin runner in 2011. But look, she impressed on the clock when powering clear in this Fillies Mile. I think there's plenty more to come. She's already proven over the course and distance. Stamina's not a concern. She likes quick ground. I think there's very few chinks in the armour of the Fav Desert Flower. Don't have VT for this horse, but here's a picture of Duty First, representing Holly Doyle and Archie Watson, supplemented for the race. She seems to have her limitations as a 2-year-old, admittedly, though, when encountering soft ground in Pattern Company. But she was very impressive when thumping her full-team rivals in commanding style in the Fred Darling on her return. No surprise she's been supplemented after that success. The Italian Guineas had been the original plan. She's speedy. Her pedigree points towards a mile being a question mark. She was impressive in the Fred Darling. Fascinating runner, but has to step up again based on the raw form of that performance. One horse I really like at a big price is El Wateen, representing that man's side, Binsura. Jim Crowley in the plate for Shadwell was sent off odds on for a debut at Kempton, and she got the job done. The form looks nothing special, bit disconcerting. We haven't seen her since, but this was lovely from El Wateen. I think there's a little bit more to come. The penny just starts to drop in these closing stages here. Keeps on well. As for Saeed, well, he landed the 2002 Renault with Kazia, who, of course, we hadn't seen carry the blue colours of Godolphin before that win. I just think she's a fascinating runner. Saeed can get them ready. She really impressed me that day in terms of her attitude. It's a massive step up going up to Group 1 company, having not been seen since. Going to ask a lot of her, but I think she's a fascinating runner. That's El Wateen. Next horse to look at is Flight. Runner here for Ollie Sangster. She only had a Sandown maiden win to show from her 5 races last term, but twice had the misfortune to bump into Desert Flower. Wasn't disgraced on either occasion. Also a third here in the Oh-So Sharp. Strong traveller. If she's made progression over the winter there, she's in the red cap finishing in 3rd. There might be a little bit more to come from her Flight. Interesting runner. I just think maybe a bit of the form lacks some substance, but at the same time needs to step up again. But there's no doubting that she might be able to do that. In terms of another horse to note, Jack Channon has Hey Boo here, unraced as a juvenile, but making up for lost time this year, winning twice at Chelmsford, including here, before chasing home duty first in the Fred Darling. However, she was no match for the winner that day, duty first, and I think she's easy enough to pass over in this contest. 50-1, that's Hey Boo. Next horse we're going to look at is the other market principal, Lake Victoria, daughter of Frankel and Quiet Reflection. Pedigree is outstanding, and she had an outstanding year as a juvenile. Here she's winning the Cheveley Park. Carried all before her last season, reeling off successive Grade 1 wins in 3 different countries, the Moyglare, the Cheveley Park, and the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. Over 3 different trips, 7 furlongs, 6 furlongs and a mile. She's the one to beat. I have a slight concern, though, in terms of she had an extended break, and Aidan O'Brien was very vocal about that fact. She'd had a long season. It was a race against time as to whether she'd be able to run in this, and they've decided that she has got there in time, but I think Desert Flowers probably had a nicer prep than Lake Victoria. And I also have slight stamina concerns. Yes, she won over an easy mile at the Breeders' Cup, but she's really got to prove that she can lengthen out and win over the mile. Look, I think she's sure to go well. She's the class angler in the race. Her form is arguably better than Desert Flower. But just those 2 concerns in terms of her build-up for the race and also her staying a mile just makes me a bit concerned. Another horse who's got stamina doubts personally for me is Red Letter. Now, she looked a tad unlucky not to beat Lake Victoria on her debut, and she did and she was also 4th in the Moyglare. Jer Lyons thinks she's a very exciting filly. Here's one of her wins last year when powering clear to win at the Curragh. I have a slight concern about her stamina. Obviously, she's seen the 7 furlongs out here well, but Lyons has suggested if she doesn't stay the mile, then she'll go back sprinting. Now, I think she could be a very exciting prospect going sprinting. Just a bit concerned whether she will properly see out the mile. If she does, she's a leading player because Jer Lyons has been suggesting all winter that she is a horse to note. And that is obviously something that you have to take strongly. Last 2, Ramat is first up. Here's the 3rd in the Nell Gwyn. That was a good enough effort behind Zanzoon. Needs making up as well because they've been off the track since landing a 3-runner maiden at Newmarket on the July course last year. Stable are in good form, but this looks a big enough arse based on this performance there. You can see in the noseband staying on to take 3rd on this occasion. Arabian Dusk also let the form down in the Chelmer last night. That's Ramat, 66-1, the outsider of the field. We mentioned Red Letter, who ran in this Moyglare. Simmering was 2nd on this occasion. She completes the list. She established herself as being among last season's top juvenile fillies, winning group races at Ascot and Deauville, before running credibly, of course, in the Moyglare, and then 2nd as well in the Ramwell as well in the Prix-Marcel Boussac. Although very disappointing on her return. Connection suggesting afterwards she would prefer easier ground. She's not going to get that here I think she's worth opposing despite being trimmed in the market this morning to about 33-1. She was a very good juvenile, but that was a disappointing effort in the Fred Darling. And in my opinion, she's got a little bit to find. Just a brief reminder of the betting there. 10-11 Fav Desert Flower, 11-4 Late Victoria, 5's Red Letter, 14's and Bigger. The remainder, including Simmering, of course, they're at 33s. In terms of selections, though, this is my 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got Desert Flower coming out on top. I'm just a bit keener on the prep and also already proven over the course and distance. I think Late Victoria is going to run well, but I've mentioned those concerns. I think she'll chase her home. They're the two classy horses in the race, and I can see them filling the first two positions. I'd take a gamble on Elbertine at 33s to finish in the placings. Saeed knows what it takes to win these big races. Impressive on her debut. Hopefully, she can take a massive step forward because she'll need to. And then the other horse was going to be exactly who was taken out this morning, so I'd probably put in Red Letter in case she can hopefully maybe fill the placings. I just think stamina is going to be a bit of a concern for her. So there you go then. That's a look at the Betfred 2,000 and 1,000 guineas. Remember, you can watch all the action live on Racing TV this weekend and also take advantage of that free 1-month trial. We've got a busy down the channel, no least today. Punchestown, of course, still taking centre stage. First day at Newmarket and then Punchestown again tomorrow with Newmarket also dominant across Saturday and Sunday. So thanks very much for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Maybe point you in the direction of a winner of the race. But let us know in the comments who you think is going to come out on top in the renewals of the Betfred 2,000 and 1,000 guineas. Thanks for joining us on the Formbook. We'll be back hopefully for the Epsom, Oaks and Derby next month. Enjoy the warm weather. Enjoy the bank holiday. And please remember to gamble responsibly. Thank you.